Hello to everyone! Here again I'm going to show you how to continue painting this non-metallic metal. So for this video tutorial I would like to show you some new tips, and just we continue with the same technique. We will use the capibases to paint this non-metallic, and you'll see how the process start to improve and get better results. So for this video tutorial, please keep attention on the new nuances like warm colors, in that kind like orange or salmon with pink, something similar, to create something with the ambient, and some turquoise to create reflections. You'll see on this video tutorial, so just keep attention because it will be interesting. As you see now at the beginning, you can see that I reinforce again the edges with more light lining, and I try to focus the attention on the top, on the face, but I don't forget the legs, because I know some of you love to paint busts and don't like to paint the down part of the miniatures, and in that case, like in a 28, 54 or 70 millimeters, I recommend you paint the legs and feet. Please paint them, because at the end if you don't paint them, the non-metallics won't work. So on that step, I recommend you paint the details, taking care and trying to paint thinner. Remember that, because sometimes you have painted very thick, maybe thicker than you should paint the edges, and at the end the result it's like, okay, you don't like it too much because maybe the mistake was to paint too fast the edges. So keep attention on that, and the details. As thinner as you can paint, at the end the result will be better. And as you see, paint the feet. As I explained you about capibases, we will create areas with more light, and then we will paint inside of that areas with less percent to paint, to create thin layers between, to create a gradient. This is the trick. If you create gradients with the capibases, then when you blend with the airbrush, will be easier for you. If you don't have made the gradients before, at the end will be super hard to blend, because you don't have nothing to blend. You are trying to blend between two layers. So at the end you'll see a little cut between both layers. How to fix it? Easy. As you see here, I'm a bit I don't know how to explain it, but I try to paint with 5, 6, 7 layers to create a gradient with more steps. So at the end, for your eyes, more or less will works perfectly without airbrush. This is the trick. If the sketch works perfectly without the airbrush, this is a perfect sketch, and then is the moment to blend with the airbrush. You'll see that in some moments I reinforce again the edges, because I need to have more light there to create a bright on that side. For example, about the helmet, as always I said, the face is the most important thing on a miniature. So keep attention on that, and if you don't have enough light, for example in that case, I didn't have enough light, so I remove some previous steps and I create a new base coat with capibases to start again to paint new layers. This is not a problem, it's just our sketch. So as always I said, Don't worry, we don't make mistakes, just we made information, and if you don't like this kind of info, just change. This is up to you. You have the choice to decide if you have to paint with more light or less. But if you have this kind of questions, please paint with more light, because if you have too much light at the end, will be easier to blend with the airbrush. If you don't have enough light, then will be hard to get this contrast. So remember that, paint with more contrast if you think that you don't have enough. Paint more light. As you see here, for example, on the helmet, I changed the value of the temperature because I want to create something different, something about the ambient. If you create different tones with the light, you can create the feeling that this miniature is in somewhere, it's in a place, so the color of the ambient will change the colors of everything. So on the non-metallic, on that metal, it's interesting to create or use this kind of tones to help you. As you can see, I reinforce again the edge with more light. And for example, in that case, I thought that I need more light and I remove everything. Then I have to paint with new layers, lighters. And as you can see, with this with this layer, I try to create a thin black line to create the dark laning. Thinner, remember that. For example, as I said about the ambient, if you think that you have to paint with different light here on the bottom of the horn, it's just change the tone of the color, just that. You can move to something warmer or colder. In that case, I use warmer because I want to change something else than just the value of the light. So if I change with a new tone, will help me to create different information on that side and will work perfectly. As for the face, take care and try to paint slower, keep your time to paint, because if you have painted very good everything, but the face it's okay, but it's not the best, maybe it's a mistake, because if you paint perfectly the face and the rest of the stuff it's okay, maybe we'll have a really great result. This non-metallic metal start to work more or less currently, but you'll see that with the next steps you can have better results. So for that reason I said, don't worry about the contrast. If you think that you don't have enough, paint with more contrast. Paint closer to pure white, but don't use pure white now, because we will use pure white at the end. but this kind of white colors with different nuances, it's a trick to create mid-tones. In that case, our mid-tones will have very close to the pure white. And now, as you see, I start to use a new color, this turquoise. Why I choose this turquoise? Because I want to create the reflection about the cape on some areas. You don't have to paint everything with turquoise. Maybe at the end we will blend a bit with turquoise around that, but now we will understand if we need to add more turquoise or not. And with this kind of reflections will be enough. It's another trick to create information on areas that you lost or you didn't or you couldn't paint with too much contrast. This is a new trick to create more info on that side. You'll see perfectly on the hips, the pad on the hip. So it's an interesting area to learn because it's easy to understand and you will see everything there. Don't think that I'm going to stop here because I'm going to create more lights inside of this turquoise. Like that. What do you think now about that? Paint this kind of reflection on the bottom parts are super interesting to create the non-metallics because you change all the rules about the light, about the zenithal light, everything you have changed. So if you use a different tone to help you for that, at the end you are creating a lot of information on that side and the result you'll see. Again, new light. With this new light you'll see much better that this non-metallic start to work perfectly, but we won't stop here. Keep attention on the face now, because I'm trying to create thinner lanes to define better the face. Okay, for example, can you see this thin lane I create? This is a fake lane to create a fake edge between the dark laning and the light laning. Why? Because I want to create a contrast between. If you have some reflection lights between black and white, okay, not black and white, but colors close to white and colors close to black, then you will have a better result. When you want to paint a face like this, with metallics, it's completely different than when you paint a human skin. when you paint a human skin, the result will be satin. And when you want to represent a metallic, you have to create something with brights. A trick for create them will be create this kind of thin lanes. And don't forget the details. This is super important. Sometimes you paint the details with less contrast than you should and it's not drawn. So okay, can you see this kind of dots? I'm breaking the sculpture. I'm trying to create brights with fakes, okay? So for that mission, I'm going to create these kind of dots on the edge, but a bit more. I'm going to paint with mistakes to create this kind of dots, because at the end will help me to create this kind of brights. If you see on your life metallic, okay, real metallic, you'll see this kind of brights, and usually the bright is out of the edge or out of the metallic. This is about the light, reflection, like that. So a trick to create them will be this: break the sculpture with a thick layer to create this kind of dot, and then reinforce it again with more light to create this kind of bright. As you see now on the video, you can see that start to work this non-metallic. And again, new light and reinforce again in the same areas. You start to see how it works. So we can continue working on the same way, because these non-metallics start to work perfectly, but I want to show you in the next video tutorial something else to create more contrast again before to the airbrush. And please take care about the details. If you don't paint the details, then will look blurry. So to get a sharp surface, paint everything. Create fake edges if you need, paint thin lanes with the light and shadows, and paint all the little details on that step with enough contrast, because then we are going to blend with the airbrush. I hope you start to feel that this non-metallic metal start to work perfectly, but this won't stop here. I have more magic to show you. Okay, for example, about this shoulder pad. If you see on this video tutorial, you'll see that I changed the temperature. I moved to a cold temperature, just a bit, okay? A bit colder, to create a feeling For example, in that case, I want to represent that this is everything like a cylinder, and I want to say that you have to see the face and the front, the chest, the face and the chest, and forget both sides. How I made this? Changing the temperature for something colder. Why? Because the warm colors will works moving your eyes to this side, and the cold temperature or cold colors will forget to see this kind of colors. This is to create fake shadows with midtones. But for sure, you have to paint with enough contrast. So this is the idea for this video tutorial. I hope you enjoyed watching this video tutorial, and I hope to see more steps about this miniature. This is a pleasure because I start to see projects with this non-metallic metal, and the results are super nice, and I know that you will improve a lot to paint these non-metallic metals. So I'm super happy to see your results, and please share in our Patreon or social media your results, because everything will improve. Thank you for your support, and see you in the next video tutorial or streaming. So thank you. Bye bye.